Thanks for staying with us. So we saw a story online that caught our attention. A popular pastor, Stanley Ogona, has allegedly driven his estranged wife, Chioma, and 6 children out of their house in Abuja. The pastor was said to be in an uncertain relationship with his wife, which led to their divorce. In a clip that went viral on social media platforms, the wife was seen accusing her husband of infidelity and domestic abuse, among others. She narrated how she had suffered with the husband for over 18 to 19 years with 6 children. Now, they're very, obviously, we don't have all the angles because it would be nice to hear the pastor's, her husband's version of the story. But going by the clip that we saw, which we're going to show to you right now, where her things were thrown out, it brought the questions in our mind that, okay, in case of divorce gone bad, in case of marriage gone south, how mature are the parties involved? How do we address issues of separation? How do we address issues of child care? Those are the conversations, because abroad, they depend on the courts to do it. You know, the courts handles it. But here, there's a lot of negotiation, family involvement, even before the courts get in. And because we agree, yes, we're in a patriarchal society where usually the men have the upper hand. So in this situation, if indeed, yes, there's a divorce, who gets what? How do you think it should play out in the event that a marriage dissolves? But just watch this clip for context.
See him. God will help me. This is a pastor, Stanley Ogona. Look at him, he called police, evicted me and the children out of the house. Look at me. Look at my properties, unannounced. We're in the house this afternoon. He just came to the house with police, threw my things and threw my things away. And threw my things out of the house. He already packed his things out of the house for years, sleeping around. Now, he has come to disgrace me. After laboring with him for 18 years, 19 years. See what General Overseer of Gospel Assembly, Glass Church, Kubwa. Look at him. I'm his wife that labored with him for 19 years, 19 good years. The world needs to come into it and give me justice for suffering me for all these years. For suffering me after 6 children. I have 6 children for him, 6, not 1. My last child is 4 years old.
All right, so our conversation, let me just explain our conversation is not about his pastorship. Our conversation is not about her allegations of what he did or did not. That's not our business, because we can't judge. What our conversation is primarily about what we're seeing, the fact that somebody got kicked out allegedly because of a divorce. So what are your thoughts? Let me start with you. Who wants to go first? Okay.
Yeah, so all shades of wrong. All shades of wrong. And so, number one, when you go through a divorce, it is not, if you've married someone for 18 years, bad as he bad with 6 children, under no circumstance should the person be kicked out of the house. It's just all shades of wrong. Even if the woman is a witch, she's an extremely wicked person, she destroyed your life. This woman had 6 children for you and lived with you for 18 years. 6. Me, I born 3, if I understand how it is to born 3. Somebody now gave birth to 6. I did not hear her say she had twins there. That means 6 belle. I do think that we must develop the level of maturity to resolve crises without letting things disintegrate. Yes, this looks messy. It looks messy for the person, the pastor, even if he's not a pastor, even if he's just a worker. This is wrong for regardless of who the man is.
Right.
And even the woman coming online and saying he was sleeping around, all of that, it is 2 wrongs, though. You know, 2 wrongs. The reaction of the woman to is wrong, especially when you think about the fact that there are children involved who will probably see this video, who will see this video in the next 5, 10 years, and they will say, our daddy did this, this is horrible. You must always understand and have a long-term perspective of the consequence of your action per time. So this pastor now wants to show, or this man, let me not even use pastor, because he's a man. If he's truly a pastor, he will not do this. No person that truly serves God in any form of religion should do this. So let's say you are very angry and you carry out this kind of action. Don't you understand that this is not kind? As in, like,
Let me come to you, talk with
Okay, so there are, in marriage, there are good times. There are good times and there are bad times. Let's always, sometimes when we take some kind of decisions, let's remember those good times. There were times when you laughed, you played, you know, all of you had a good time and everything. So now that it has come to this, consider at least the children. Now that you've sent them all out, the children don't belong to the woman in this part of the world, that we are in. The children belong to the man. The children are not bearing her surname. It's your surname they are carrying. So why will you now send them out? They were out. You came and you packed their load and dropped everything outside. I could even see basins of onions. You even packed onions and haba, mana. You at least consider the children and how painful it's going to be on her. She's acting out of pain. She's acting out of, that's why she's saying infidelity, all those things. It's out of pain.
Is it possible that his children are probably going to be protected? Maybe, I don't know, I'm assuming now that for a father, there's no father that wants to throw his kid out. So there's a possibility that you sort out the kids somewhere else. But it's the woman who, I've divorced you, we're done, take your property out of my house.
Usually when a man does that, he wants to inflict pain on the woman. And then in the process of inflicting pain on the woman, it will fall on the kids. Okay. That's what happens.
Now, it's not possible that the children are provided for and their mother is disgraced. Wherever you are watching and you're a man of this mentality, because this is not the pastor. So there's a reason I don't want to talk about pastors, because I have seen non-pastor, pastor, even babalawo.
Pastors are human beings.
To women. It's a thing where you will find 2, 3 sisters from the husband's side say, we are coming to establish our husband, brother's right. Pack the wife, children along to further punish her. Give her the burden that, okay, go and train them by yourself.
Exactly.
A woman can choose, as a mature adult that she was when she came to marry, that I'm not marrying again. In fact, let there not be infidelity.
Just tired.
Just wake up one morning. As a mature adult, that you use your consenting leg to consent, you can consent and go back.
Not in Christianity.
No.
Christianity is
See,
not.
we are talking law now. We've never come religion.
Let's not touch religion.
You can consent and you can discontinue consent.
Is that acceptable by law?
That's the law. It is a consenting adult that marries. When you no longer consent, you are allowed to divorce. There's no court that will compel marriage when you no longer consent.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
So you go home when you no longer consent. But do you now get punished that, oh yeah, she been assist you, but carry on. Let's see how you raise them.
6.
When you suffer very well, you come back and beg. That nonsense is too popular. That's what is annoying me in this video. When a woman says, I'm no longer doing again, if you love her, you use the love that you used to toast her before. Toast her again. If she now say, pata, everything, I'm not doing, I still, even if like, bring my dead mother, I'm not doing, leave her. Let her go. But how do you now do it?
But that's what he's trying to do here by saying, this is my house. I want you out of my house.
He didn't do that.
Okay, what I read is that he sold the house. So I've sold my house. You used to live in that, so take your things out of my house. We are divorced.
No such right. Murayo, a tenant that did not follow landlord to buy sand, cement, block, is not allowed to be thrown out legally. Like this. Not to talk of a wife that might probably have given you support even if she did not have money to build the house. A tenant who did not buy sand, he did not know where you bought your land, he did not inherit your house with your father. He cannot be thrown out of his residence legally. He will have a right in court. Not to talk of your wife and children. There's no right you're establishing that allows you to sell a building without providing an alternative for any human being.
Exactly.
But that's what the courts do. But you can use, as a man, I can use my discretion and say, I don't have another house. I have sold it. I need the money.
You have
children. But you have children.
So it's possible that I take my children to my mother's house.
Sell your house.
And take you out of...
You will take her to court. All properties of the marriage, all proceeds that were obtained within the marriage, and place of residence inclusive. If she's established to be your dependent, like your children, you are going to make provision.
Yes.
Or to take care of.
I handle the divorce.
To the law, yeah.
Yes, that's the law. I handle the divorce. I'm handling it. And the wife was insisting on the house of residence. And the man was saying she only married me for this one property. We were compelled to compulsory settlement, which is part of litigation. And she came there and she looked at me and said, you are even a woman. I said, madam. Unknown to her, I was chatting with my clients. I am not going to continue this settlement on your part if you don't make provision for her residence. And he says, okay, the property in question was somewhere in Ofada. I'm going to provide another place somewhere in Ofada. And she said, no, if I don't stay in Ofada, you must provide Lekki. I was like, you can't compare hardship on him out of his means.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I did not allow
According
him.
to the law.
That my client provided a health insurance, what they call this HMO.
Yes.
Inside that settlement, I was the one advocating her rights.
So is it possible that
You
we
don't
don't
push.
know if this man has offered her somewhere else and she chose not to take it? We don't know that's how it goes. We don't know the full story.
But this what we're seeing here now is bad.
Yes.
It's bad. This part.
Let's talk
Her
about
load
this
in
story.
the sun, and in this rainy season, possible
And
rain.
what she's even
It's
saying.
not raining in Abuja, we don't know yet.
Auntie is raining everywhere.
I'm just
And
joking.
the heat that is even following the rain can kill somebody.
I'm telling you.
You know, if the heat is like this in Lagos, imagine what it is in Abuja.
So because we don't know the full story, there's a possibility that he has given her somewhere else to stay. And she said, because we are living in this Lekki area, this beautiful
won't
area,
say that.
don't
He didn't
leave me.
relocate her.
It's possible.
Let me make you laugh. One divorce we were handling, the man, they were living in a residence and the woman had access into the place because it was not an organized estate. Because she was coming to see her children, she woke up, she walked out of the house in the morning. By the time she was coming in the afternoon, she did not see anybody. Him, children, everybody. By the time she called him, he had moved to a gated estate that you need to call landlord before you can see anybody. And she was denied access to her children. The courts must sit up when they start to enforce this thing. You are not
And
allowed.
justice needs to be served
Yes,
early.
You cannot be allowed to deny a party access. Neither are you allowed to displace a party because divorce is happening. It is the most immature thing, the most stupid thing to do. Especially when children are involved.
Yeah.
Now, you know that even if all 6 love their daddy, one will say, I want to stay with mommy. Okay, that one with mommy, which she and the child stay outside.
But there's a part, let me come to you, Ramatu, because we grew up here and I will kick out of my house. I will send you out of my house.
That's the language I'm seeing.
We still see it today. And the women are scared of being kicked out of the house.
But I'm sorry, but I have to bring a little bit of religion to this thing. Like, Islamically, if you are divorced from your husband is still, he's still supposed to provide accommodation for you and your children until you are able, until you remarry. He will continue to give you that accommodation until you remarry.
In the Quran, or you just came out.
It is in the Quran.
Ah,
It is there.
If you have your kids under age while they're with you, he has to provide.
has to
in
provide
fact, child support
accommodation.
And if you divorce without kids, 3 months you will still be under his provision and shelter till you are your.
He will provide for you with feeding
let me take
and
this
also
call.
accommodation.
Let me take the call from Francis. Good morning, you're live.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morayo, good morning.
Good morning.
It's Mr. Francis Odi calling from Makurdi.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Those pictures, I want to tell you, good morning, all the beautiful ladies in the house. I'm a man. My wife have 4 children for me. We lost 3. If no matter what a wife does I told my wife one day we were having an issue. I told her, I said, I'll leave this house for you. You and your children will stay. Me, I'll leave. That is out of anger. I said I will leave the house because I don't even want anybody to mess around with you and the children. I will leave this house. I will carry my bag and leave the house. You people will stay here and I will go. A woman I invested in your life for about 18 or 19 years.
These
My marriage
pregnancies.
is 6 children. Whether you are a pastor, whether you are a Christian, whether you are a Muslim, whether you are a idol worshiper, anywhere in the world, this is very ugly. This is heartlessness.
Yeah.
So, and this dictates what the Bible is. We read from the Bible, where they will tell you the heart of the man is dangerously or whatever very wicked. It's very unfortunate.
Thank you very much, Mr. Francis. You're absolutely correct. But you see, there's a mentality of the patriarchal mentality where I brought you from nothing. I brought you from the village. I trained you. You came with not a pencil. And I gave you this home. I enlightened you. What are your glasses? I enlightened you. I empowered you. You have this new home. And now we are divorced. Let me just return you back to how I found you. Let me carry you to mother's. Everything I got
Have I gone back? Exactly.
everything, just carry your pack, your load out of my house.
Will you take me back to the slim person that I used to
She
be?
will not return to how you met her. If you even die suddenly, as you fall and die, she should not return to how you met her. Did you remain where she met you too?
Exactly.
In those
In
number
that
of years,
period.
did you not grow? You see this mentality
Mariam
of...
is asking a
this
question.
man.
Does our law allow a man to throw the wife's things out?
It
of-
doesn't.
Doesn't allow.
Maybe I'm comparing it to
Let me go on a short break. I want to bring in our guest because she's a woman. Hopefully, she can add to this conversation before we now get into her own interview. But it's been nice to also hear the youth. We want to say something before the break. So we have our guest with us who's going to be joining the conversation. She's a dedicated data analyst and educator with a robust background spanning over 7 years in the education sector, committed to propagating lifelong learning for all and utilizing technology to enhance the lives of children, women, and for the better of their lives. So her work consistently reflects her dedication to these causes as she leverages data and technology to create impactful trainings, educational programs. We'll be talking to her, our guest, Oluwatosin Mogbaduade. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Good to have you.
Good
We love
morning.
to celebrate women, especially on Wednesdays, and just, just see what you're doing and teach us a bit of what you're doing. But first, before you came in, we're talking about this man who allegedly sent out his wife, who they've completed the divorce, obviously, and she was lamenting, saying that she's been there 19 years with 6 children, and she was kicked out of her house and everything. And it was quite bothersome because we just felt that it was unfair. But understanding we live in a patriarchy, and society somewhat supports the man who is in charge, to kick her out. What is this? Who is she? Where did she come from? We bring her from village to this house. So what are your thoughts on that video?
Oh, really? So what we always say at Plant Path is that you shouldn't treat people unkindly, irrespective of their gender, irrespective of their demographics. So the thing is that last week was International Day of the Boy Child, and we're at some schools at Idiaraba, and we were telling the boys, even if you're right, no matter how right you are in the situation, don't treat people in a way that is unfair. Because when we don't raise awesome boys, when we don't raise awesome men, it comes back to bite us. We raise good women, and then the boys are not well taken care of. I mean, they just maybe are financially buoyant, they know book, and their mental health.
Character.
Exactly. They don't have good character, and then it comes to bite us as a society. Nobody should be treated like this, no matter what has happened, at all. We shouldn't treat people like this, and we should teach our boys not to treat women like this. Very, very important.
Ladies, what do you think he could have done better? So let's imagine the worst case scenario. Maybe she's alleging that he cheated, he did this, but what if he comes to her tomorrow and says, no, she cheated. She stole my money, she did this, and she screwed up my entire business. I'm done with her. She's done the worst thing. Mm-hmm. Well, how do you think he could have managed it better than kicking her out or even selling the house? Because she was still living in the house.
Yes.
So before he could have sold the house, it's possible he has been warning her. And see, this house, I'm selling this house. I want you to be out in a few months. Mm-hmm. And she keeps saying, you can't sell the house. So she kept challenging him and said, you can't sell the house until he sold the house.
You know that I started by saying a consenting woman can't divorce. So also a consenting man can wake up one morning after 30 years of all the love, after all I have done for you kind of conversation, and say he's done. He's allowed as an adult when he says he's no longer willing in a marriage. He cannot be forced to be in the marriage himself. He can go. But can he just go and say the marriage does not come with any baggage without settling the baggage and responsibility? Yeah. He cannot. Just as the woman cannot wake up one morning, leave a nursing child for a man and say, I don't care whether he's breastfed. Any responsibility that you have in marriage must be dealt with post-marriage. It must be dealt with. If you were a provider, you must provide. If you were nurturer, you must provide for nurturing during divorce, during separation. You cannot be that thing hanging as a form of punishment or a burden that you're forcing on the other side of the marriage. It's irresponsible. So I don't think he should have. Even if a court order, because someone is saying here, that the story has, Undona says, the story has it that this was not the man's doing. It was the court that came to eject her since she refused to vacate the property as ordered by the husband, and she left and she refused. And the husband left her and she refused claim to the house. He got a court injunction. This is a YouTube comment.
Okay, so we don't
this
know.
Is not a fact. But even in this, a man would have relocated his family. You are not allowed to displace a person. Usually when the court...
a man say, I'm only responsible for my children, not you.
If it's the court, after you've gotten a court of eviction and they come from court to enforce it, if the person is not willing to carry the things like this, you take to court possession. You take into possession at the court. If they say, well, court will auction it, that means the person is not really serious. It's unrepairable. But you won't live to destroy, to waste.
Let me take this call from Emmanuel. Good morning, Emmanuel. You're live.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Please, me, I just want to say, they used to say it's a
I need
man's
some volume.
world.
I can't hear you.
It's a man's world, but this one is not a man's world anymore. It is very, 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 very bad. It's terrible. Not considering the children, or is it trying to tell us that the woman did not give birth to, the children the woman gave birth to are not his children? If you don't consider the woman, you don't consider your children, that means I would love to use a particular word. Maybe the man is not, it should be an animal. Let me use that word. It is very bad. It is very bad. It is very bad. It is very bad.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have a comment here from News Ayami Jesha. He says, my father kicked us out of the house because his new wife wanted our own house. My mother had to move with us 3 children back to the village, and that was where we raised up. Now we're all graduates, and so I guess, so this has been happening.
Yes.
Yes.
He was kicked out as a child because the new wife wanted...
Yes. So can I say something? It may be off of what the question you asked, but this is it. I think if we fix laws concerning divorce in favor of women...
Laws, Ramaki.
It's not, it doesn't favor women. It doesn't favor women.
It's not in favor of men alone. In Nigeria, unlike, where the law tilts towards women, ordinarily assuming that there's provision. We have a patriarchy.
Balance.
There's a balance. There's no, what's it called this thing?
Alimony.
Alimony compels here. It's provision for child.
Yeah.
Child support is compelled here. Provision is compelled. The court comes into that arena to look at both parties. This is not where your lawyers are the ones speaking. The court dissents and allows the party talk directly to them when it comes to the issue of custody of the child's welfare. So it's not one thing, one person will just come, I tell you this, I tell you that.
Exactly.
It's not I tell you, it's not based on your biases or your discretion as a man that a woman should be outside. And it's not on the woman.
Because in this...
Wrapping up on this,
You
because
cheated on me, so you should suffer.
Yes.
If you cheated on you say no one marry again, call.
Okay, let me come to you, Tosi. I mean, your final words on this, because we have to wrap up on this to come to your interview. I mean, as I said, the patriarchy is there. Society would usually not question a man that throws out whoever he chooses to throw out. And maybe, this woman right now, who's going to help her? We've not even talked about what's the next step for her.
Honestly.
Maybe she's somebody that's never worked in her life. It's possible she's the mommy Gio. She's been collecting, or the pastor
Even if
taking
he
care of
has
how
sold
this
the
goes. So
house.
it's possible that she's probably not empowered. So she has to start. She's just used to this lifestyle. You bring somebody and you empower her as mommy Gio, and she's now madam, and suddenly there's a divorce.
Oh, madam.
Yeah. So I mean, what would you advise her to do at this point?
At this point, well, I think she's from Abuja.
Yes, they're in Abuja.
I know in Lagos, there's Lagos DSVA. She would have probably gone to the agency. In this instance, rely on family and friends and pick herself up, really. Pick herself up, empower herself in the way she can, and then move from there. Hopefully, we're able to get justice for the kids.
Yeah. That's my own concern, the kids too. I would like to assume that the man has catered for his children.
kids.
It's the woman that I'm having contention with, and even though he just shouldn't do that, but I'm hoping that his children are at least fine. That's all we can take on this segment. When we come back, we'll go into Tosin's interview. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.